What's up, Lions Nation? I am the Soul Man. Right now, joining me is Mike B. What's up, Mike?
Hey, how's everybody doing?
As you can see, he's wearing a Packers sweatshirt. By mistake. Forgot what show he was on.
Just trying to rub it in a little bit.
Statman is on his way. He's coming. He will be here soon. Tom and Amy in the house. What's up, Logan's mom? Tom and Amy. How's it going? We are back. Sorry for the delay yesterday. We had some stuff come up. Well, Statman did, so we had to move to today. But please like, share, and subscribe, everybody, on that march to 500. We are currently at that 227 mark. So thank you all that have subscribed. Please be sure to share our podcast with all your Detroit Lions fans out there, all your friends. It only helps us out. And if you want to be a guest on the show, I keep asking people because they keep telling me that they want to come on the show. But every time I ask, nobody volunteers except Mr. Mike. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you bet. Anytime.
I'm not going to jump into all this stuff until Statman gets here, and that'll be in just a few minutes.
I was going to give a shout out to my buddy Bill Navarre, lifelong Lions fan, and now converted to a Packers fan. If you don't believe me, check his profile picture. He changed it to a Green Bay Packers helmet. So I thought I would just tease him a little bit on here, because if he sees this, he'll be like, oh, hell no. Because I was texting him and making
fun of him. Just in case anybody's wondering, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. Bill Navarre calling you out. Packer fan extraordinaire. But Bill is a big Lions fan. And I said, did you lose a bet? And he said, I did. And he said he feels kind of dirty with that as his profile picture, but he did lose a bet.
I bet he does. I bet you feel just as dirty wearing that sweatshirt.
But it makes me laugh that he's got the Packers helmet for his profile picture.
Yeah, it was Thanksgiving Day, and another Thanksgiving Day loss for Detroit. Not just against Green Bay, but I did not know that they've lost. I think the last 7 Thanksgiving Day games, the Lions lost, I think it said during that game, which I had no idea actually they lost that many. It's crazy.
I saw a picture on Facebook earlier that they lost to Favre, Rodgers, and now Love in their first meeting, for those quarterbacks anyway with the Lions.
Well, like I said, we are going to jump into all that as soon as Statman gets here, which will hopefully be very soon. I don't like to even do the show without him, but he told me to start. So Victor's in the house, says, what's up? Fellas, tough game. Yes, sir, it was. And Tom and Amy said, congratulations, Mike, on your team win.
Yep, thank you so much.
That'll be the last time that's ever said on this show.
Boy, you hope so.
You got to give Green Bay their due. I mean, they came out and they played much better than Detroit did. Hands down.
A different team than you guys saw a few weeks back.
A different team than you guys saw a few weeks back.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give you that too. Yep. Definitely.
That was not the same team that played you guys. Well, technically it's the same players, but wasn't the same team. I don't know what the hell they were doing.
I don't know if I don't know. I mean, obviously they'd be smart enough to know not to underestimate somebody in their own division, but it's like the last 2 weeks it almost seems like they underestimated and they're like, oh, we got this. And then they come in and they almost messed it up with the Bears, and then they did mess it up with the Packers.
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to mention that too, but I don't know what is happening, because even Dan Campbell in his press conference said something about we have the same players, it's the same team. We just got to fix our few things or get back into our rhythm. But I don't understand. You have the same players and the same team. What's the difference between then and now? Like, I don't get what's happening. It's mind blowing to me right now, the situation going on with Detroit.
Like the first time they met the Lions, I mean, obviously had their game faces on. They were ready and they were raring to go. That wasn't the same Lions we saw on Thanksgiving Day.
No,
It was more like the Packers were fired up and ready to go.
they were. It's like I can't blame it all. I want to give the Packers their credit because they came out and they played a good game, but we did not come out and play very good at all. I think that we barely stayed in it enough to almost try to come back again. There was some, I think the fourth down call that Dan Campbell did, if that fake punt was not smart at all. And especially with the field position, there's a lot of stuff that I just don't feel there's certain times where that's justified, but I don't know. Maybe Dan Campbell's getting a little bit carried away with his fourth down calls. But at the same time, if he would have got it, everybody'd be saying something different.
Right. And Victor
says the offense has been off. Goff has been trash. The fake punt was a horrible call. Yeah, the offense has been off. The defense their coverage has been horrible. I don't want to, again, I'm talking a lot, but I want to get Statman's thoughts on all this too, but he's not here yet. So, but anyway, I think both the offense and defensive line. Oh, here he is.
What's up,
there
guys?
There he is. Hey, you're all clean.
Yeah.
What is that, Old Spice?
I had to scrub off that loss from the other day.
That was a long shower, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we haven't got into much of the detail because I wanted to wait for you to get here. But, yeah, not good. Not good.
No, they went into the game overconfident. It looked like they were all hungover from the night before. It looked horrible. It was atrocious.
I got a question for you, Statman.
What's that?
You still think Love is trash?
Well, I think he played very well because our defense couldn't get any pressure on him. When he was getting pressured, he couldn't throw the ball worth a crap. It was just his offensive line and the scheme that Matt LaFleur had for him that game. It was working good, and he threw a dime on that ball behind Christian Watson for that touchdown. I think it was to Reed.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got talent. Aaron Rodgers even came out and said, don't sleep on Jordan Love. Might take him a few years to get out of the stump he's in, but
the last time
he's going to be good.
Talking shit about him and saying that he was straight trash, so I had to bring it up again.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It was the Packers came out firing on all cylinders, and then for the second time in a row against a division matchup, we look like garbage. Absolute garbage. The trenches. Our offensive line and defensive line, horrible. Horrible. Like I was telling Mike, Dan Campbell said, we have the same players. It's the same team. We just got to fix a few things to get back in the rhythm. If it's the same players and the same team, then what the hell? Like, Statman, this is what I've been waiting to ask you this. We see that game against the Bears. We have this game against the Packers. How are we supposed to go into the playoffs and make a run into the playoffs when we come out and play games and look like that?
Well, it's good that it's happening right now while we have a nice lead in the division, because it gives us time before the playoffs to get this fixed. I mean, every team's going to have bad games. We've had 2 straight bad games. We lucked out in the Chicago game winning that one, because before we won that game with the turnover margin and the time of possession difference, teams were 48-0 with those stats. So we got lucky that the Bears played some soft offense, was trying to run out clock, not really going for anything, and we took advantage of it. But we can't count on every team, especially the good teams, to do that same thing. They're going to play like Green Bay did against us and just put the pedal to the floor and go at our throats.
Yeah, but
And what's crazy to me, the craziest part about that game, we had the number one offensive line going into that game. Packers weren't doing anything crazy on defense, no crazy exotic blitzes or anything. They were just rushing 4 guys. Jared Goff didn't have time at all to pass the ball.
Which that's what we're known for. We're known for being able to get pressure with just the 4 front guys, and we didn't do anything. Nothing.
No, and when we did throw in blitzes, though, we were getting there.
Yeah, but he didn't do it enough. And then again, you have, I think our secondary. I don't know what they're doing, but they're just allowing way too many open. I feel like their guys are just too open. I don't know. It's hard to try to figure out what it is. I'm not a coach. I don't know. And I asked Mike, and I know you'll probably agree with this, but the 4th down call that Dan Campbell did, that fake punt, I think it was horrible. But like I said to Mike, the same thing, if he would have got it, we probably wouldn't think it was so horrible. But I don't know. I didn't like it because of where they were at in the field, I guess.
It was an absolute horrible call. You never go for a 4th down when you're backed up against your own end zone and you can play field position. Our defense wasn't playing horrible. They were playing bad, but they weren't playing like absolutely trash. I mean, we were getting stops.
Mm-hmm.
We should have played field position because that's the name of the game. It's like a chess match. You play the field.
In the house, he says they need to save their Thanksgiving dinner for after the game so they weren't hung over from turkey. Victor says our O-line fell apart and they had so much pressure on Goff, he was getting frustrated. And that's another thing. I'll get to the stats and all that, but if you look on Facebook and you look at all, you're going to use, it's all I'm seeing right now is how trash Jared Goff is. We need to get rid of him. Blah, blah. I don't think that's the case. He has thrown a few interceptions. He didn't throw any this game. There were some fumbles, 3 of them. But how do you expect a quarterback to be able to do what he needs to do if he's getting hit or hurried pressured the whole game?
Well, on top of that, did you see at the point in the game where he had 24 dropbacks? 50% of those were pressures.
Yeah,
and he got hit like 8 times. When a quarterback's getting hit that often and getting pressured that often, he stops reading the whole field. He starts just looking for checkdowns or the quick throw. That's all he was doing.
Yep.
You seen one play where he tried targeting St. Brown on a deep corner post. And if you looked over on the right side of the field, Sam Laporta was standing there doing jumping jacks in the air because he was wide open. But Goff didn't think he had time to look over the field.
No, he was trying to get rid of it as quick as possible. And you could see spurts of our run game in that. You could see little spurts, but I feel like they should have stuck with it a little more. I don't know. But I want to take a look at the numbers real quick. But first, Dan Campbell talked after the Lions lost to the Packers. And this is what he said. He said, I've got some time here to look at a couple of things and see where we can get a little more efficient. He said, at the same time, this is the same team that's been here all year, offense, defense. So that's why I brought that up earlier, because that was his big point. Yes, there's stuff to look at, but it's the same team that's been here all year. So what the hell? Then what's the excuse? What's happening?
There isn't any excuse. They just lack the want to win. That's what it seemed like to me.
I mean, I think the Packers went and did their homework and came back, and they were more well prepared for this Lions team this time around. And
no, I agree with that. I think they had a good game plan and they stuck to it. They came out quick, and then their defense played so well that we couldn't get an answer to it. We couldn't get anything going.
And
Ben Johnson said too before the game, he didn't like playing against Green Bay's defensive coordinator because he knows how to disguise things very well.
Yeah,
and it's hard to game plan against him.
And we talked about in the last show, how all the injuries the Packers had too. So I mean, there's that to think about. But I think that Logan made a good point with, is that this is if this is going to happen. This is a good time of the year to have it happen. So I mean, Dan Campbell can get them, kick their asses back into shape and make a playoff run.
We got the Saints next.
Am I worried? No, I'm not worried, but I don't want to see this continuing when I know what we're capable of doing. Like, right. I know what this team is capable of doing. And to come out these last couple of weeks and play like that, there's definitely something missing there. Player stats, Jared Goff, 29 for 44, 332 yards. Montgomery had 15 carries, 71 yards, and a touchdown. Gibbs, 11 carries, 54 yards, no touchdowns. St. Brown went 9 for 11, 95 yards, no touchdowns. Raymond, 5 for 5, 90 yards. Jameson, 2 for 3, 51 yards. And Laporta, 5 for 8, 47 yards, 1 touchdown. And then Josh Reynolds had a touchdown as well. I only do this because I have to fit the defense in, but here's the defense. Jacobs had 7 tackles, Walker 5 tackles, Anzalone 4 tackles, Joseph 4 tackles, Branch had 3 tackles, and Aiden Hutchinson with 1 tackle. Statman,
-2 on my fantasy football.
You're looking at the stats. They're not all horrible. If you look at the stat numbers, both running backs, Montgomery almost had 100 yards rushing. Goff had over 300 yards passing.
What killed us was turnovers. You turned the ball over on the 4th down, failed conversion on that punt run, and then that fumble that got returned for a touchdown. You take away those turnovers, it's a lot closer game. We might have had a chance to actually pull it out.
Well, that brings me
in the end of the day, you make those turnovers. Some teams aren't going to let you win when you have too many turnovers. The Bears are a horrible team. They let us win because they're horrible. The Packers are not a horrible team.
No, we've seen it.
And that was one of the things Matt LaFleur had said that they had to work on too, was getting those turnovers, and obviously they've done some of their homework with that.
Well, statistically, you get the turnover win, you win the game. Get the turnover margin, you win the game.
Yeah, because did they score points off every one of those? I'm pretty sure they did. Game stats. First downs, the Lions had 25, Packers 17. Third down conversions, Lions were 7 for 15, Packers were 5 for 11. Fourth down conversions, Lions 1 for 5, Packers 0 for 1. Total net yards, Lions had 464, Packers 377. Total passing yards, Lions 324, Packers 268. Rushing yards, Lions 140. Lions, I didn't put Lions in there, sorry. Oh, yeah. Packers 109. Penalty yards, Lions 7 for 51, Packers 7 for 60. Turnovers, Lions 3, all fumbles, Packers 0. Red down efficiency, both teams were 3 for 4 with 75%. Time of possessions, Lions were 31-56, Packers 28-04. So
it's the turnovers.
Yeah, and because a lot of these stats, if you look at the game stats themselves, some of these stats were the same or better than the Packers. More yards, more passing yards, more rushing yards. But yet we still lost. And because what you said, Statman, it's the turnovers. because everything else looks like we should have won that game.
Turnovers kill you. Like I said, we got away with it against the Bears because they're a horrible team. You're not going to get away with it with good teams.
No, because you can't get back, especially when the Packers defense was playing so well that we couldn't get back into it. They like completely stopped us from trying to get back into that game. It was almost like you seen that Lions team that when they got behind, they just gave up. That's what we were kind of seeing. They're like, oh, well, we can't win.
Yeah, they were never that far behind, but yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with what you're saying, but yeah, I think that the hope was there, but just didn't pull it off.
Victor says, yes, the turnovers lost us the game. And I think, and we had turnovers in the Bears game.
And Jared Goff is responsible for 5 turnovers in the last 2 games.
Yeah, if you think about the fumbles, what led to those fumbles?
Well, the first one was offensive line breaking down, hit him as he was going to throw, knocked the ball loose. The guy took it back for a touchdown. Second one, Goff thinking he's a running back and then holding the ball out, like, because he's not a running back.
Not even close.
The guy came up behind, just put his hand on the ball and knocked it loose.
But for the most part, the pressure from the Packers defensive line is what caused those turnovers to happen.
Yeah. Packers defensive line played better than our offensive line.
Which was insane. Our offensive line played horrible. I think that was probably their worst game that they've ever played that I've ever seen them play.
And Rashawn Gary, got to give him all the credit. 3 sacks against us and came up crucial for Green Bay. He played like Aiden Hutchinson should have played.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk right now, again, about Aiden Hutchinson. We haven't seen a whole lot. Like I think everybody was expecting something different from him. And I'll go to you first, Statman, before I ask Mike a separate question. But what do you think is going on with Hutchinson? Are people figuring him out, or does the defensive coordinator need to move him around more?
I think it goes back to what JB said when he commented on our show. Put him more in that wide 9 outside linebacker technique. He shined last year doing that. He picked up so many sacks toward the end of the year. It was insane. You need to move him around the field, play him inside, play him outside, put him on outside linebacker, make the offense kind of guess where he's going to be, because if you can put him all over the field, it's going to be hard for teams to kind of coordinate against it.
Yeah, exactly. I like it. And from what I could see, he didn't move around very much. He kind of stayed right on the outside the whole time. And they need to use him right and put him in different spots, just like you said. And Sutton, I think Sutton has to step up his coverage game. A lot of the passes, he's getting beat on them a lot lately. I feel like I've been noticing, and he's got have we heard when, oh my gosh, not Donovan Peoples-Jones. You know,
Bruce Irvin?
Huh? No.
Talking about Bruce Irvin?
No, our defensive back that we traded for or picked up in free agency.
Gardner
really
Johnson?
Good. Thank you. Yes. I'm hoping that he'll come back soon, because
he thinks he's going to be practicing by the beginning of December. But Dan Campbell says, I don't see that happening, but don't count anything out, because it could happen.
It could. And I hope. I'm not saying anything against. I think our defensive backs are good, but they just. I think they've been messing up on their coverages a lot lately, just not being there where they need to be. Now, Mike, I want to jump over to you. Being a Packers fan, after that game, what does this say for you as a Packers fan going forward?
I just think it shows some promise. Like, I don't know that, I don't know about our playoff hopes. I don't think we're completely out of it, but I think that it gives us some hope for the future. I think that, Love will turn into that that quarterback that all the Lions fans hate. He's making some pretty good progress, but obviously enjoyed seeing the Packers have some success. Was unexpected. I didn't think they would pull it off, especially seeing the first game of the year, but they did.
It does add a little bit more in the division. I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of, but it does stop and make you think like, okay, now we may have 3 teams that are pushing,
right.
Meaning Detroit, and then you got Minnesota and now Green Bay. Green Bay has a chance. They're not out of it. They're still in it. So that could be 3 of our division battling for playoff spot. I don't think we're not going to make the playoffs unless we just lose out the rest of the games. But
I think honestly that Dan Campbell's going to take them back to the and kind of kick their ass, and you're going to see it. You're going to see that Lions you've been used to probably this next week coming up.
Dar makes a good point. He says we were -3 and -4 in turnover margin and only lost by a touchdown. We just got to clean up the turnovers. Yeah, and that's what I want everybody to. I wish that most Lions fans would realize that how just a simple little thing can change it all back around again. Because there's a lot of people out there like, oh, you know how Statman, you know how they are. You know how some of these Lions fans can be. A couple games and they're throwing in the towel, fire Dan Campbell, cut Jared Goff. I even heard a lot of people saying they want Hooker in instead of Goff.
That's what we call bandwagon fans, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they love us when we're winning. They hate us when we lose. How many years have we dealt with a losing Lions team? And we're still here.
I think don't at all count Goff out. He's had a couple bad games, but he's still got you.
No, I think he does, and I think eventually, I think Hooker's going to be good from what I've seen in his college stuff. Every time they do the draft, I always go and watch highlights and everything like that. He looked like a good quarterback to me. But I think he could be one of those guys that sits and learns and comes in for us eventually and be a good quarterback for us. And I can't wait to see that. But I don't have anything against Goff. I've told people that have told me that he sucks multiple times that he doesn't. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. Did he make some mistakes? Yes, they all do. Every quarter. Look at Patrick Mahomes right now. He's not Mr. MVP right now in my eyes. He's making mistakes out there just like everybody else does. So, but is Jared Goff, in my opinion, is he up there at least the top 5 quarterbacks statistically wise? Yes, he is. If you look at it, he is. And he can take us where we want to go. I know he can.
And just to touch on Green Bay, too, I mean, they have a good coaching staff, and they have a lot of young talent. They just don't have continuity yet. It's just that team building aspect. Kind of like the Lions. Lions had talent for the last couple of years, but they just couldn't put the team part of it together. So Green Bay will be a good team in the next couple of years.
Dar says, and Love is still trash.
Got to get the dig in.
Yeah, you know what's trash, Dar, is you not coming on this show. That's what's trash, Dar. Always an excuse. Oh, I'm hungover, blah, blah. Whatever. Logan made it here. He probably doesn't have his pants on yet.
I got pants on.
Okay, good.
Well, shorts, technically, but
good.
You know.
He literally came right out of the shower, so. And he's wearing that We Are Lions Nation hat. Look at that.
Yeah, looking good.
Beauty.
So we talked about the other day, and I don't know if I'm skipping ahead. I apologize, but we talked about we pick our player of the day, player of the week. So who do you think after the game was the player of the week?
For Detroit?
Yeah.
I'd say it had to be Khalif Raymond.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. He stepped up with some good catches there.
One thing I'll say that I have liked, that I have noticed, it's not a ton, but Jamison Williams is starting to slowly be that deep ball threat. It's starting to happen a little bit. You can see it. That reminds me, before we get out of here, Statman, there was a play, I bet you'll probably remember. They did handoff, flea flicker back to the quarterback, and then Goff threw it and to where? My question to you is, what the hell happened on that play? He had him wide open, and in that play, he didn't have pressure. He just completely missed. Like we talked about all day, how the pressure was affecting him, but there was no pressure there. He just completely missed the receiver, like really bad.
I think it was honestly miscommunication on the route that the receiver was going to run. It was probably one of those option routes where the receiver had a couple different options of what route he was going to run, and Goff just assumed he was running one route, and then he ended up running the other route.
Yeah, because I mean, that would have probably scored.
Yeah,
he was open, and if you didn't see a whole lot from St. Brown in that game either, and it was because of Jared Goff that had people in his face. How many times did he get knocked on his ass? He got up a couple times, looked like he was hurt. I was like, oh crap, here comes Hooker, but no, didn't happen.
What scared me was Anzalone going down.
Yeah.
I did get 14 points off of St. Brown though, so that was good. We'll take it.
No, I mean, he still got the ball. He just not like he usually does. But in conclusion, I think it all comes down to the fight song.
The fight song.
I knew this was going to get brought up too.
The fight song didn't get sung, and we lost. This happens every time the fight song does get sung. We lose every time.
I promise it won't happen again.
It's true, though.
I'm sorry to all you Lions faithfuls. My fault. I'll take the blame for it.
So we're putting it
I
all.
actually said at the end of the podcast the other night after you jumped out, I was like, if the Lions do lose, it's Logan's fault for not singing the fight song.
Every time.
So I got a thought for you though before we get out of here. Just curiosity. What are your thoughts on like at halftime there when that guard tried to stop Matt LaFleur for whatever reason? Who knows?
Oh yeah,
I thought that was pretty funny in a way. I don't know if he didn't know who he was or what.
Right. Like he wasn't having it. He wasn't having it.
I don't think he would have stepped in front of Dan Campbell like that.
No, I don't think so either.
I think Campbell would have just ran him over.
It's that home team cooking stuff.
Right.
Trying to get an advantage.
The last comment I'm going to make before we get out of here is the halftime show was horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, hell,
absolute garbage.
Yeah. I actually turned it off. I was like, I'm not watching.
The Cowboys game had Dolly Parton.
That wasn't great either.
But it was like explosive and amazing. And then we had that, a little tiny little snow looking thing way off in the distance, and it was horrible.
So why couldn't they get Eminem or something?
Right. He's probably at the game. Come on, Eminem. Get in there. Get in there. Well, hey, you guys, it's that time. It's past that time. So we got to get off here. But I want to thank Mr. Mike for coming on. And everybody else, please, if you tell me you want to come on the show, and I put a post on Facebook saying, hey, we can take people on the show, come on in the show.
Jump on in.
It's open.
Yep. Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, buddy. Thanks for coming on again. And everybody, have a good night.
One pride.
Take care.